Welcome guys, we're going to do the October message today. So it's a really good message. I've literally just finished channeling it, so it's very fresh. There has been some talk about the children, the child sex slavery from a few people on the group. Now I have a channeled message, but I'm going to give it, post it next week because we're at the beginning of October, so I need to give you this one this week. So this is very much a game of co-creative consciousness now, okay? So we are understanding and coming into the awareness that when we are united with information, correct information, our cellular network connects across the planet. Now it envelopes the planet, and these cells communicate that light language. Now when that occurs, and that's where we're in the infancy of creating now, nothing can penetrate that truth, because the truth is freedom. And we have been running around, as most of us know, and some of us call free-range slaves and all the rest of the system, but again, it's all part of the illusion and part of the experience. So again, it's not to get into light and dark and polarity and being pulled emotionally, but it is about understanding that we are at the precipice of change, of co-creative consciousness coming together unconsciously. And this is where a lot of the confusion is lying for people at the moment, because their emotional bodies are going off the Richter scale. People are going into all kinds of despair, they're losing their minds, they're forgetting things, they're in chaos, they're just very distracted. And this is causing a real frequency disturbance in their emotional bodies. Now it's actually the emotional body that's screaming out for attention and acknowledgement. So the only way we cannot unite is if we play into the old paradigm, the belief systems. Now a lot of this message that this channel today is about that, because this whole second wave was programmed to us in the sense that it was talked about. They're setting us up for it. There's possibility of a second wave coming. You know, these new figures, this is going to happen. We may have to shut down the schools. You may have to start working from home again. You know, you may have to do this, etc., etc. Now, what's actually happened is we've now created the second wave. Humans have, not the governing elite, because they seeded that into our consciousness through the news outlets. We have now adopted that. Oh, it's going to come. It's going to be here any minute, any day now. We're just waiting for it. So we have put all of our energy into that narrative, and that is what's actually seeded their whole agenda, because it's co-creative consciousness used for their agenda that controls us. So when we're all united with the truth, no lie can penetrate, no illusion can penetrate. So it's a game of co-creative consciousness, of the cellular network of information. So it's really important now, and this is what this message is about, how you take information in this month. Because we are coming into a very chaotic energy. This next quarter, or the last quarter of the year, is going to be turbulent energetically. And there's going to be a lot of the shadow coming out, fighting for its last stand. It's going to be in the corner punching, and it's going to come forward strong. And this is why we need to unite our co-creative consciousness with the truth. Now, we're not going to know the whole truth yet. That's going to be revealed later. The only time you can understand the truth is when you take information in, and you have to sit with that information and let it resonate in the heart. We're going to talk a lot about this in later on as well, over the next few weeks. This message will explain a bit of that as well. But the main thing is, and I did write a few notes, and I just need to make sure I've got them before we read out the message. It goes into a bit about politics. Now, it's not saying that you need to disconnect completely from politics. What it's saying is the information that you take in through the debates and what's being said resonates in your heart, okay? And it also talks about setting the intention. Now, there's a lot of people out there, and I've talked to people in the group as well last week, that, sort of, as we say, mainstreamers that don't understand the soul, don't understand how to get into their feelings, don't understand how to get into their heart. Now, that is the majority of people, unfortunately. So what they're saying here is you just set the intention. Now, everyone can set an intention. You can do that in 2 seconds. Yeah. So it's the intention that's going to start to bring forward the soul energy and the feeling. Okay, so don't worry about getting into the feeling right away, because that takes time. You know, we all have our emotional bodies are clogged, so it's very hard to feel the truth. So the intention set is what's going to bring that energy forward, because the foundation of all outcomes is intention everywhere. You know, it's always been that way. So an agenda has an intention first, and it's the intention, and it's the same, and I've explained this to you people before, that the algorithm of divine consciousness is the 0 and the 1. The 1 being the masculine, the 0 being the feminine, and it's the intention placed into the 0, from the feminine, and it's manifested through the 1, and that brings the consciousness, it brings the algorithm, brings the balance of the male and female in. But the male energy is always serving the feminine energy, because the feminine energy is the highest form of consciousness. It is where everything is birthed from. It's the 13th house, the 13th ray, the black, the void, the ma, whatever you want to call it. And we're going to be turning all the colour chart on its head very soon as well. I've got some cards written for that. But the main thing is that when an intention is set, it has to manifest, because it's the energy of the male energy that carries forward the intention. It is the creator. Okay, so the male energy is in service to the feminine energy. Now, this is what this is talking about as well, because it's talking about the soul, and this is all about soul connection this month. Now, the soul is the feminine aspect of our creation. Okay, so and the soul is always a feminine energy, the nurture, carer, protector, the mother force energy. Okay, so it's really important that that balance is still being played out, and it's talking also about balancing the emotional body, because as we take information in, it pulls our emotional body left and right, and it's this whole misinformation about polarity or opposing sides. So it's very important that we find balance this month, and I'm going to talk about a little bit more about that at the end. And it's saying that as in the last message last week about, or the one from Mother Earth, she's saying, don't worry about me, fix yourselves, focus on yourselves, I'm taken care of. Now, it's the same as the agenda that's going on around the planet now. There are many, many light beings here. There's many forces they're not even aware of, and there are human beings in the governments now affecting positive change. And of course, we know many people, and I've talked to people on the group, there's a lot of the special forces, ex-military, ex-CIA, NASA, and all the ones that have broken away from the control groups that have put a force together, and they're the ones making all the arrests at the moment, and this is the stuff that's going to be coming public, right? Most of us know about that now. So there is a force that's taking care of it. So what they're saying is, stop putting your energy into something that you cannot affect in your current timeline or in your current paradigm, because our emotional bodies are so polarized in false belief systems that the energy that we're putting into these debates or leaders and stuff is still pulling into a certain agenda, and it's very unconscious to most people. So what again they're saying is, focus on yourself. Co-creative consciousness is where you will change things, and that is where the power lies. Okay, there are people already taking care of all of this. Okay, we don't need to be putting too much energy into that at the moment, because there's actually that outward energy we're putting out is actually not going to do anything anymore. It has to be turned within. So we have to look at ourselves. And again, we've explained the COVID was the shutdown to start looking at the inward journey, the inward soul journey. But the soul is coming to every human being now. Every human being's soul is coming to them. And the message that I've got about the children and the abusers of the children, and it talks very much about their soul energy and how that's all sort of connected. But like I said, I'll share that with you next week, because it's about coming out of separation and judgment, because the agenda now is to really keep the polarization separate, and that is where we are powerless. So again, you know, we've talked about this many times on the group. A lot of it is reinforcing that, because often we have to hear things quite a few times for it to sink into our subconscious. But the main thing now is that we have a physical experience in what we're talking about. And this message gives you that intention to start feeling that agenda, to start feeling that truth. Even if you are totally void of emotion and feeling, if you set this intention, because the energy is there and you just need to have the intention just opens it up. and it will start to flood into your consciousness. Because I'll tell you what, most souls have been dying for some hundreds of lives to get their human extension to wake up. So the time is ripe. It's here. It's happening. You know, it's amazing. So I mean, the amount of things that are going to come out very soon and over the next few years is just going to turn everything on its head, and it's just humanity's going to go in a very different direction. And the main thing is that we're going in a positive. There's going to be no more going into the chaos anymore. You know, the chaos is just creating change now to bring the positive into action, to implement it, to ground it, and that's going to be our foundation. Okay, so the October message. Okay, this is again from the Viridians, the consciousness that I work with. Opening the doorway into our true selves can be one of extraordinary pain and confusion. When a desire for change comes from within and you are not aware of this inner world, fear and confusion is sure to manifest itself. Why? Because there is no benchmark for understanding an invisible force. So we call it folly or fantasy. However, what is happening now is the invisible force that actually put you on this planet, that keeps your very heart beating, will not be silenced anymore. In fact, this invisible force is the feminine aspect of your polarity. So to deny it, you are in fact denying creation itself. And the ego, without the love and nurturing of the soul, is without guidance, is without unconditional love. Playtime is over for the little boy on the schoolyard. It's time to come into the classroom for some universal truths. And that is where you shall receive your merits. That is where you will learn the truth. The teacher is both kind and serious, not to mention hilarious when she wants to be. But the lesson is one that all need to partake in. You cannot stay out on the schoolyard anymore, throwing dirt at each other, bullying each other, and running in all directions, tripping over your untied shoelaces. You must all surrender to the mother figure that is your soul. Now here comes the challenge. Letting go of beliefs around who you think you are, who you ought to be or become, and actually what you believe reality to be. And there are going to be some truths coming out that will blow your 3D minds away. We are going to shake this boat until you almost fall out, because humanity needs to wake up now and take control of their planet. But this starts with you at home, by connecting to your individual souls, so the divine plan can move through each of you, enhancing the earth, enhancing your lifestyle, your health and your well-being. Beliefs are what you create through a mental perception. And if you are too polarized in those beliefs, you resist the truth. It cannot be heard or felt. This leads you into denial because the emotional charge around the beliefs is so strong that it can repel the truth even when presented with fact. It's time to let go of your beliefs in your believing world and just have an open mind to all possibilities. That way, when the truth is finally revealed, your emotional body will flood with excitement and joy, and then you have reached a state of balance. Beliefs are both extremely powerful and disempowering. Belief in yourself to have the courage to face and implement your experiences and lessons. A radical belief in what you believe created you or how life should be run and all else is heresy is extremely damaging to the human soul extension connection. In actual fact, you isolate the truth from being felt when you adopt these beliefs without any proof. Do you realize how many beliefs you have that aren't even yours? That have been created in a world of illusion? And how many do you blindly follow without really feeling the belief or understanding or even questioning its foundation or motive? Beliefs need to be fluid, and they need to be influenced purely by feeling alone and nothing else, because feeling is the only real truth marker. You need to watch out for charismatic leaders, because they are masters at manipulating your beliefs and emotions through their quick tongue and body language. Once they have you hooked into their energy field, you are easily led into their paradigm of thought and agenda. Beware of who you follow and listen to as absolute truth. It's now the time of questioning, not following blindly because your governments say they are experts, etc. You need to get inquisitive. Co-creative consciousness is at the tipping point. And if you listen and follow these policymakers any longer, humanity is going to go into even more chaos. If what they say doesn't resonate, say it out loud. That doesn't feel right. Start speaking up for yourselves. Start getting inquisitive. Stop following politics. It is designed at its heart to confuse you, to give you the impression that there is two opposing sides. Well, there isn't. And the more you watch these debates, the more your emotional bodies will be flung into despair. We suggest this month you look at your beliefs and observe how you are being emotionally manipulated and pulled off centre. The greatest weapon against you is an opposing side, the illusion of light and dark. See through this illusion this month by setting that intention each morning, and your souls will show you the path. If you get emotional whilst listening to certain leaders and debates, then give yourself space to feel into them. But more importantly, if you are being swayed into their narrative. You must unplug this month and observe yourselves, and you will soon see the truth in your belief, moreover the truths you give away. So that's the main message. And I think I was just reading my book because I was talking to my agent yesterday, and there was a great one that Einstein had put in, and he'd said basically blind belief in authority is one of his famous quotes. Blind belief in authority is one of the most dangerous energetic patterns or something that we create in the human energy field. Something along those lines. I'll post it anyway, but it's brilliant. And he understood that, obviously, very wise man. And he talks a lot about imagination and intention and inquisitiveness. And I put a lot of that in the book because we're trying to bridge science with spirituality, and obviously one of the greatest minds was using love and imagination to get all of his results. And that is what the soul is trying to push through. So like I said at the beginning, if you can't feel or understand your emotions or understand how to get into that heart energy just now, just set the intention, and what will happen is you'll start to feel it come into the body. Because time is nigh. We're at the top. We're at the precipice of change, and there is a quickening and awakening of consciousness coming in the next few months, because the shadow is really starting to come out now. And obviously the more the shadow is coming out, the more light is coming to keep the balance, but it's also highlighting the shadow. And this is why I said to you about polarity, so just be very careful about what you put out negatively with thinking, especially towards yourself and others. And we really must get out of judgment, because it's going to come back very quick into our consciousness. And again, this is not karma, this is not something you've done bad, this is actually a pattern that your soul is trying to show you and teach you. So if a negative, or what you perceive negative occurrence happens in your life, it's just there to waken you up. It's not an avenging God paradigm, okay? Most of us know that, but we get caught in the narrative. And I see myself getting pulled into 3D all the time, and I'm talking to spirit almost every day. You just get pulled in because we're in that frequency. So, trying to keep your emotional body clear is very, very hard, especially now. And this is why you need just to work on your fundamental issues. You need to go back and look at that inner child stuff, the fetal memory, and then, of course, once that happens, then you start to bring in the multidimensional aspects of yourself that need assistance as well. But that's a whole healing paradigm, which we'll be discussing a lot more when I do the teachings. I'm just putting the teachings together now. I'm going to get a activation or the journal part 1 of the teachings of 3 parts. I've explained that before. Part 1's going to come out probably late November, early December. I'll advertise that in the next few weeks. I'm just currently putting it all together now. And I'll explain that in a separate video about how that's going to work and what's involved, how it will affect your life, how it will aid you and what it will give you, and then we'll go from there. All right, guys, thank you very much. And I will speak to you, and I'll probably do this, the children video earlier during the week, probably Monday or Tuesday. All right, guys, thank you. Take care.